Last night the DJ saved my life. Rock, rock DJ. Or DJ wala gana babu chala do. Whichever song you want to choose, it's gonna work. DJ, Jura, you can choose it because we're absolutely elated with this win. And look, let's of course address the elephant. Bazball has been Bazball up 3-1, an unassailable lead for India, courtesy a 5-wicket win, and they've kept a 12-year record intact, which is not lose the series at home. That's 17 and counting right now. And then you look at it from a chasing perspective. This is the first time since 2013 a 150 plus total has been chased down in India. And the last time that was against the Aussies. And Ben Stokes, it's going to be a tough one for him to take. But we're going to pick out all of it in this cricket.com review. Myself, Avnish Hegde, themselves, Nikhil Popat, Gukirat, and of course, we'll get to all your thoughts as well. I'm doing this from the comfort of my house. I'm guessing Gukirat and Nikhil are doing the same. And if you guys are joining us from office on this Monday, well, it's Monday blues with regards to India winning. So keep your comments coming through. Melville already saying, let's go. And Mohammad Haran saying, tough luck, Avnish, well bowled today. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good to see Ben Stokes talk about me for so long in the presentation, but we'll get to Shoaib Bashir and, of course, the England positives, let alone their negatives. Guys, first thoughts then, because there was a little spot of bother chasing that. Be honest with me, okay? Don't just say it now with the benefit of hindsight, Gurkirat. When we were 5 down, there was balls in your mouth, bro.
Yeah, something similar to what Ravi Shastri said after the win in Adelaide 2018. Yeah, Adelaide 2018. But yeah, I did not expect the game to get stuck like that, especially after the kind of half an hour, 40 minutes India had. But I remember, Nikhil was saying that this is a track where a collapse could happen out of nowhere. So it would be important to not lose wickets in clusters. And when those 2 and 2 happened with Jadeja, finding the fielder on a full toss and then bat pad off Sarfaraz, it did seem like that. And uh, I also feel for Patidar because, again, soft dismissal. No real pattern to any of his 6 dismissals so far, but the pressure is really building on him.
Yeah, at the time, Knicks, we were kind of going really well at one stage. There were 84 for none before Jaiswal departed, and then Rohit, the thing, departed soon after when there was 99 for 2. And at that point in time, I was thinking, yeah, sure, this is going to be in the bag. But again, that collapse was ridiculous. I'll just get your thoughts in just a bit, just for the match summary and the benefit of the viewers joining us right now. It's that telling line, India winning by 5 wickets. And the first time a chasing team has won in this series, which is good to see. And Dhruv Jurel, man of the match for that 90. He got 3 catches. He also got a 30-odd in that second innings to give Shubman Gill, who was definitely the showstopper of the day, which we'll talk about. But Rohit Sharma, 55-81. He joins just a bunch of Indian captains who score 50-plus in the second innings in India. And it just goes to show in the grander scheme of things how it's all really panned out India's way in the last couple of weeks, especially since Hyderabad. Right, next, I've kept you on for too long. Talk to me. How happy are you? Because you said no matter how they get it done, they get it done, and they've got it done.
Yeah, I think it is very, very satisfying. I think that's the word I'd use for India. That's a very satisfying and a pleasing win because it's the people who have stepped up under pressure. Right through the series, wherever India have been in trouble, it is Jaiswal's double, then Kuldeep's spell in Rajkot, and then it is again Jaiswal batting England out, and then again in this game you see it is Dhruv Jurel combining with Kuldeep with the bat, and then Kuldeep doing it again with the ball. So I think that has been one of the hallmarks of this entire series, and it was fitting that Dhruv Jurel, when Sarfaraz got out, and you had that moment where oh this could go any which way, Dhruv Jurel just comes to the crease and makes you feel like this can be done. Let's show you how it's done. Singles, doubles, it's knowing the situation and playing it very, very well. I think a lot of credit there. He played one Hoyt, it did not carry to Shoaib Bashir, and after that you did not see that at all. So I think that's a very good sign for anybody who's just playing his second test, that maturity and that calmness under pressure so much. It is at home, but you still have to do it. So I think India will be very, very pleased with the result because it could have easily been something else.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it yesterday, Nick, in terms of temperament. And Doc touched upon his technique. I did yesterday as well. And keep your comments coming through, all you boys and girls, all you legends in the chat as usual. And like this particular video because we're going to go through a lot of it. And we'll also shed light on what might happen in Dharamshala because India could make a real statement to Baz McCullum and company and annihilating them 4-1. Good to see Kalu Mama as well. He goes on to say, I think Sarfaraz will not be beneficial in saner conditions. Let's not jump the gun there. Let's just celebrate what we have in the moment. Jurel was one of the who brought calmness by retaining strike with Gill. Absolutely. Talk about being busy at the crease. He defined that and more than that. And Greg saying Jadu went into a shell again. We'll talk about all the other things as well as much as possible. And Chris, good to see you in a very, very heartwarming comment from you in this afternoon show. It's been a while, he says, Gurkirat, since I'm seeing you guys live because of the time zone, but I've never missed to listen to your analysis. Keep up the great work. So kudos to Chris and all the new listeners to us because we are doing some fantastic work in this cricket calendar. Right, Gurkirat, time to talk about yourself. Talk about Shubman Gill in our first segment in this review in the Showstopper. Right, before you tell us your tweet about Shubman Gill and whether you agree with me when I say it's his second best test knock ever after that Gabba innings, which Somesh rightly pointed out in the WhatsApp chat, how do you rate his performance today? And it just gives you so much conviction as a Shubman fan in general, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the temperament that he showed, I think it will not only give him a lot of confidence, it will also, ease the management because many times you have seen how he's, scored those pretty 30s and not carried on. So today he looked way more confident even in his defense. It was far more clinical. So yes, a very good knock, and the best part of that knock was, him hitting those two sixes to you. He did what I also did in turf in one of those games, so it was good to enjoy that. But yes, hopefully this series can be a turnaround for him in his test career. It's something even Anirudh wrote an article on how he's not really built on a good innings. So there was that 100. So if you look at the 350 plus scores, you will see that the 100 was the knock where he looked way more uncomfortable as opposed to the other knocks. Even the 90 that he had in Rajkot, he looked fairly in control, and today as well. So good to see him, do well, and hopefully as he plays more, gets more runs under his belt, he also figures out the trouble that he has with the ball coming in versus spacers, because once he really works on that, then there is literally no stopping him in terms of dominating bowling attacks in test cricket.
And he actually played well in terms of the mental aptitude that he displayed as well, Nix. And it was now testament to the fact that he's a second leading run getter behind Jaiswal, of course. And it's a turnaround because you've heard so many of these interviews going around in Geo with Gill saying it's a 5-match test series. He's looking forward to playing it and he could soak up a lot of understanding of it. How do you kind of look back at Gill's, 8 innings right now? He's got I think he's got a 90 in there, a 50 in there. But this 50 just does him really good.
Yeah, 100%. And no, only to add to what Padi said about, it's probably gotten better in terms of as you move forward into this series. And today, again, you saw him. See, there are times when you feel that okay, somebody's batting at a strike rate of 35, 40, 45, 50. Are you confident looking at them? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I don't think with Gill you were ever feeling that okay, why is he batting at that rate? There were a lot of people when Rohit got out felt that because Gill is batting so slow, it put pressure on Rohit. Now that is something that you have to figure out, that what is the need of the situation and what is it that is going to work out best for you. I think with time Shubman is coming to terms with terms of what is the tempo at which he wants to go about his test game. And I don't think it's an easy thing to nail very quickly in your career, which is why we are all heaping praise on Dhruv Jurel, because he's been able to find that tempo. So I think this knock will give Shubman a lot of confidence because no boundaries there, as you can see, zero. Those two sixes also came at the very end. So all the time, all he was looking for is finding the gap. And there were moments when the ball kept low. There were moments when the ball bounced a bit more, but he was able to adapt to them because his intent, while being wanting to be defensive, was still looking to get the gap. So I think that was very good. and it's something that I'm sure he'll get better at with time. But this one, I think he'll take a lot of confidence, and hopefully he can build on this, because we said the same when he got the turn, and now the challenge for him is to now build on this, because as Padi said, the challenges will come at him in terms of pace going forward as well.
Okay, let's see how it goes forward for Shubman Gill. And Satwik quickly adding on in the comments saying Gill has continued his quietly significant series, just a little under the radar, but he's batted really well. Just think he's finally understanding the number 3 role. And obviously, they have so much of cricket ahead of them, it'll only do them more good than harm indeed. And Kailash Bish going on to say the opening partnership killed the game for England, much like '08 in Chennai, where we chased down 387. Two different games, but even when, like I said, Rohit departed, there was a little bit of a hiccup, especially with that middle order. People, of course, talk about Jadeja, but lots of people, of course, alluding to Rajat Patidar right now. Kailash again pointing out that he seems mentally off, pressurizing himself. Mohammad Haran saying Patidar just lost all his confidence and luck, needs a confidence boosting IPL to get back in form. And I think there was another comment about Patidar from Kanan B asking us, should India give him one more chance, because it would be unfair on DDP just to play him in one game and he might not start the next test India plays, which is a fantastic point as well. Quickly on to Rajat Patidar right now, and he got 2 balls that our statsman told us early on in his innings, and you could just tell that he was in a clusterfuck mentally, right? Because even if I put it out here, those are scoring opportunities, rightly pointed out, and this came just before his dismissal. So was he already bogged down mentally in that lull? And sometimes that does play against you.
Yeah, it's fair to say that, because you have to understand the situation, and the pitch not being very easy to bat on. So you know that you have to ensure that a wicket doesn't fall here, because you saw what happened last evening with England just collapsing after Zach Crawley's dismissal. So that threat must have been on his mind, that okay, Rohit's just gotten out, need to ease myself into the situation. And with not scoring a lot of runs coming to before coming to bat today, you can understand why a few run scoring opportunities were left out. It was pretty much like how Rohit batted in the first innings in Vizag, where you felt that he was really batting within himself and was going into a shell. So this can happen. This can happen to any cricketer, let alone someone who's just made his debut and knows there is a lot of scrutiny. And it doesn't help when all the other debutants around you have already made an impact. Sarfaraz had those 250s. Jurel had the good knock. Even in the first innings, he had a good 40, then a 90. You had Akashdeep taking 3. So it does play on your mind a lot more. And probably the batting has been to some extent a byproduct of that. Not entirely, but that must have been a factor. So yeah, coming to the comment about should India play DDP, uh, I'm not sure if playing him in the middle order out of nowhere and then not knowing what to do when the next series comes is a great idea. The fact that India won the series allows them to stick with Patidar for one more game. And I feel whenever you are in doubt, you should go back to the Sanjay Manjrekar quote for Virat Kohli, which he made in 2012. Just to be sure, give someone another extra game.
Okay, but I just want to ask Nick the same question here. How would you chop and change the batting order? Because sports fan mentioning this first, which is a good one, but he also mentioned the other point, which is Aksha slash Sundar will be a better option than Padikal if they do want to axe Patidar straight away. Do you see that similar thinking? And what is your gut feel telling you right now?
I think because they won, they'll give him another game, which is good. I think it's a fair way to go, that he gets all the games in the series, and then you give him honest feedback that this is what we're looking out for. Because what you have to see is Dharamshala is a place where you don't expect the ball to turn a bit much, or do a lot of tricks. It should be a deck where pace is more used. So I think that is something that could benefit Rajat if he gets a good score there. So I think in terms of that, you'll probably give him another game. There is a lot of time in between this and that one, so you can prep him up well as well. Uh, because you don't earn much or get much by playing Padigal, to be very honest. And the series is done. You might as well just see what you can do with Rajat if he's in your plans for Australia and other two nations. So I think in that way you have a lot more to gain by giving him another game.
Okay, fair enough. Kushal Shah, good to see you this afternoon. Please like this video. And Greg K saying, sorry, Paji, it's GG to Patidar. Man is getting tortured every time he goes to bat. And Navudit Chain has entered the chat as well. Can we speak about Jadeja's horrendous innings? Let's not try to really force the nitpicking, but we'll talk about it, Dio. Don't worry about it. Navudit Jain, yeah, he goes on to say, while meanwhile, Barrel's getting all the credit, Ashwin Kuldeep be like, मैं क्या करूं फिर job छोड़ दूं. I mean, no, we'll talk about Ashwin and Kuldeep. We did speak about them, in fact, extensively in the yesterday's review show. So, look, there's so much to get into still. So keep your comments coming through. Remember, with all the stats, data, numbers, some fantastic things already on the cricket.com website. It's available on the app, and follow us on social media and Instagram with all those nuggets. I can give you one right now. And boys, tell me if the stat amazes you, because quickly I'm being told that Stokes, Root, and Anderson have now lost 10 tests in India, which is the joint most for any visiting player. Can you guess the other man that they were equaling the record of? Gurkirat loves this, man.
Kevin Peterson.
Think with another P.
Iggy Ponting.
So Ponting has 10 test defeats in India, and now
Nice.
it's Stokes, Root, and Anderson who joins that bandwagon infamously. Yeah, Jaddu is one of the most inconsistent batters in home in recent times for us. This match is a blip, in my opinion. Let's talk about Jadeja then, because lots of guys are going crazy about him. What do you guys put it down to? Because even if I look at the numbers, 217 runs in 5 innings that he's played, still a decent average of 43.40. But why are people going mad?
Yeah, I think the comment by Kushal just below this one sort of explains why he gets as much criticism. Uh, because you expect someone who's played 15, 16 years of international cricket to now then give you the confidence that in tricky situations, uh, apart from using your skill, you can you can also use your experience and then bat in a certain manner, which many times you don't get with Jadeja, regardless of what the format is. And to just reduce Jadeja to those moments would also be unfair, because he was the man of the match in the last game, and he did have a very good test 100 which took India out of the blushes. But then again, that run out and everything else. So you would just expect someone who's played nearly 55, 60 test matches to sometimes give that calming presence of a senior player out in the middle, which doesn't really come from him. Maybe it's just his nature, maybe it's just the way he is. And it's very difficult to change so late in his career, because what people forget with Jadeja is that he's also 35. He looks younger because of his fitness, but he's not. So I just think it's a very complex relationship to explain between Indian fans and Jadeja, because many times when you don't expect him to do well, he does. And he's been very good outside of India, especially outside of Asia, where without him, India really struggle for balance in the 11. But then he keeps having these moments where it feels like, okay, he's just a raw guy who's just come out. And I feel someone like Siraj will also turn out to be just like Jadeja in that sense.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with your analysis, Paji, and I'll tell you why. Because sometimes we look at Jadeja and you expect so much from him, and he doesn't deliver. It just pains you, and I understand where the Indian fan sentiment on this right now is. But then you look back, especially away from home, and what he's done. You look at even that fifth rescheduled test where we lost to England and they chased down 378. India were in a spot of bother. I know Pant scored that 146, but Jadeja was at the other end, who really gave him that company and went on to score 100 as well. So, look, Jadeja, we can, of course, talk about it. Mohammad going on to say, is his all-round attack creating a sense of identity crisis for Jaddu? No, not really. I think essentially he's been brilliant. I mean, this is a guy who's been doing it day in, day out, rinse and repeat for India for a while, home and away. So really, we can't question it, because if he does have a really, really good game in Dharamshala, again, you guys will shut up like how you guys shut up about Ashwin, right? So with all due respect, I'm saying, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just playing devil's advocate over here. I think Kushal also saying same with CSK. You should see why the captaincy didn't work. Look, that's a different conversation. It's a different format, but in tests right now, it's fine. Kailash also saying got to find replacements for Jaddu, Ash, VK, Rohit, etc. soon. They are 34 plus and won't be playing for an extended period. It is a transition which India will, of course, try to embrace. They found the Ajkal ke bache, not to quote Rohit, but they have this series. Everyone stepped up quite brilliantly. Speaking of Rohit, guys, I think there was a comment in yesterday's review saying you guys are biased. You guys call Rohit Sharma out whenever you guys have to, but we also credit him massively on the show. I mean, you can go take a look at all our previous live shows. Rohit Sharma is someone we've, of course, lauded the fact that he goes about his batting with such a proactive approach. Even yesterday, the 8 overs that India had to kind of really think about, 40 for none, and pretty much Rohit setting the ball rolling. Even today, Knicks, Rohit Sharma, that 55-81, when you look back at it, it was a brilliant start that India needed because I know Jurel and Gill bailed us out, but when you look at Rohit and his contribution in that second innings, it's a very, very important knock.
Yeah, and again, we've discussed at length about how good the test batter Rohit has been, and you can't always question the consistency because Paji touched upon it yesterday. Conditions haven't quite been such where you feel that they've been roads and he's been unable to score on them. So it's been tough, and he's found a way. And again, as you rightly said, even today or even yesterday, you kind of feel the test batter Rohit is far more proactive, and that is something the captain can take a leaf out of. That the manner in which Rohit has more options with the bat, that is what Rohit, the captain, once he gets there, he will get better. And the one thing that I think we need to address with captaincy whenever anybody is against Ben Stokes is every opposition, when compared to Ben Stokes, on TV will look like someone who's reactive or just waiting because Stokes is doing that much and you are hearing that much about Ben Stokes. Now, you will not hear that much about Rohit Sharma that, for Crawley, he kept the cover open. Crawley wanted to hit there, he got the wicket next ball. Now, if this was Ben Stokes, you would have a highlight reel. So that is also something to keep in mind that some things, what sells is sold more. So with Rohit, you have to give him time as a test skipper differently because he's also coming to grips in terms of his identity, something we've discussed in the past. That with MS, with Virat, you had an own identity. With Rohit, he's forming his identity. He's not even captain 20 or 20 tests so far. So it will take time, but there are reasons where you feel okay, you're not using Kuldeep well, you know, not opening with Ashwin. These are the areas where you feel that yes, you can probably hold him accountable, but he will get better. What you have to see is it's the opposition that is putting so much pressure on you that you're not able to experiment a lot, which is what you saw in the first two games where India could not give the second pacer a lot more longer spell. So all these things are there, and hence the captain looks like like he does. There is always going to be an area for improvement for everybody involved, but this win should please him a lot more because of the people who've stepped up. And you need that kind of setup because you're missing Shami, Kohli, Rahul. These are not your normal people who can easily replace. So, credit to him for being able to get the youngsters in the space that they have to. And yes, there will always be things that he can get better at.
Yeah, and I think that fist pump that you saw from Rohit Sharma when the winning runs were hit just showed you how much of conviction that he got upon himself with this team right now, with the mentions that you made there, Nick, about having no Kohli, no Shami, no Pant, so on and so forth. There's some interesting questions, random ones, which we'll, of course, entertain at the end of the show, like this one from Mohammad Aran. Asking about Shardul Thakur. I think there was another one from Dolph saying, can we play Jarrell and Pant together? And Kushal Shah, also a good one from you. So look, we'll keep those at the end of the show. We'll reserve the best and we'll take every comment. I promise you that. But right now, time to, of course, just entertain you all further by giving you all a little bit trivia in, yep, you guessed it, the Googly. Right. Yesterday in the CDC Googly, we asked you about Pacers and how many fifers they have or something like that. But you guys would probably know the question if you see our review again. The answer, my friends, I was looking for was Dale Steyn and Wasim Akram. I think a couple of people got it in the live chat, and I think a few got it in the comments as well. So today, what is it that we have for you? And we'll pop it up right now because cricket.com Googly today, well, we might have given it up in the stats ticker earlier, but we'll ask you nonetheless because since 2000, only 11 times 150 plus has been chased in the fourth innings in India and 10 by the home team. Now, who's the only other team to achieve this feat? I think I saw this game. I'm not even joking. Like, as an 8-year-old boy, I think I might be wrong, but we can confirm it. But yeah, there you go. That's the cricket.com Googly today. You guys can, of course, have your say in the comments. And right now, I'm not seeing anyone comment. So maybe they can Google this one, chat GPT it, or just check out cricket.com and yell out the answers in the comments. Clint Francis, you're wrong. It's not England. At least I think so. That's what a stats man told me. Sri Lanka during the SA series asking Mohammad Aran. I'll answer the question later on in the show because there's no, of course, day 5 review. Right. Time to ask these boys what they think is going to happen on the 7th of March because that's the 5th test in Dharamshala. Not our party that we were going to have in Hyderabad because Gurkirat got excited and be like, 7th of March, I'm going to see you. We're going to see each other, but we're also going to see a brilliant, brilliant venue. And that is, of course, worthwhile to talk about in the next segment. Right, what's next? It is the 5th test. There is 5 tests in this series, and India unassailable 3-1 lead. And it just makes you think about chopping and changing, or whether India really want to send a message to Bazball about stamping the authority and winning the series 4-1. Speaking of series being won, guys, I just want to throw in another stat attack. India losing the first test and winning the series. There are a lot of occasions, so check out all the ones that we're showcasing you right now. And Greg K saying Australia. No, it's not Australia. About the cricket.com Googly one. Right, we already spoke about it earlier, but what is Dharamshala going to have, and what are the personnel that we'd like to see over there? Because India have the series in the bag, Gurkirat. If you were Rahul Dravid, what would you do with your team selection?
See, with the WTC, I think we've moved beyond the point where just after you've won the test series, you can look to experiment because points are on the line. Uh, a lot would depend upon the fitness status of KL Rahul. I think if he's fit, he will come back. If he doesn't, like I said earlier, they should stick with Patidar. And I'm not even sure that we can assume Dharamshala to be pace friendly, given what we saw in the World Cup, right? So if that is the case, I think India could end up sticking to 3 spinners itself. And if I'm not wrong, when India did beat Australia in Dharamshala in 2017, they did play all 3 of Jadeja, Ashwin, and Kuldeep. So Bumrah could come back, and
And there was no
if he,
Kohli there.
yeah, yeah. So if Bumrah comes back, then I think there could be a case of them resting Siraj. My issue is with that, even though it makes sense, is that
Or would you bring
sometimes
back Bumrah? I mean, sorry to interject, but would you bring back Bumrah? Because I know you mentioned the WTC, which is, of course, the casting shadow, but would you simply bring back him?
it's a tough one because if you rest Siraj, then you are also in some ways, uh, you know, sometimes when you are playing on and off, then it becomes an issue of you finding your rhythm. And with Siraj, who's predominantly a rhythm bowler, you again sort of run that risk. Having said that, there's going to be the IPL that follows, so that test match rhythm is anyway not going to be there. So I'm fine either ways. I think the reason to rest Bumrah for this test match was to play him in Dharamshala. Now that they've won the series, don't know, could go the other way.
Nikhil, do you see any changes with the batting before I ask you what changes you'll make with the bowling? Because that's the talking point. I'm guessing lots of fans will be like, Patidar ko nikalo, get Akshar back in, propel Sarfraz higher up the order. Maybe Jadeja also kind of gets slightly higher because if they're picking an extra bowler. But obviously, the surface is not going to be spin conducive, like you mentioned. So, how are India going to play their cards?
I think the batting will be same. It's very unlikely that I feel the batting will change unless somebody's unfit or something happens in between that time. In terms of bowling, if it's green, then I don't mind playing more seamers. I'd play three, no problem there. And if you want to rest Siraj, you can do that. Bumrah would have gotten enough rest, 15 days more likely. So that is also fair enough time. I'd play all three of Bumrah, Mukesh, and Akashdeep if you want to go down that route. But I don't think they'll you can drop any of Kuldeep or rest Ashwin or Jadeja. That is not happening. So that is a bit too far to climb. So probably only max one change could be that Siraj is rested and Bumrah plays again, and that could be about it.
If
And
KL
it's
does come back,
it's
then
going to be Ashwin's. It's going to be Ashwin's
100,
test match, so he's not getting rested.
Yeah, and
so
shouldn't
if
also. Shouldn't
so
also.
if KL comes back, he'll slot in for Patidar, and then it'll probably be the same team, I'm guessing. But Mohammad Aran is asking us, one sec. Greg also saying we have to play Bumrah and win 4-1, otherwise England will claim moral victory with 3-2. And Navooda Jain, you make an excellent point, man. We've been saying this in cricket.com platform for the longest time. We don't believe in mixing formats, but we know that sometimes you have to,
Separate pools,
yeah.
separate pools.
By the way, would you give Washi a go? Any sort of left field picks?
You can. It's up to what you expect from the surface. We heard what was said after day two in terms of the nature of the deck. So that is where you have to see, and it's also majorly to do with the usage because we know how Ashwin, Jadeja, and Kuldeep have been used in this series. If you're playing Sundar as the fourth spinner there, you really have to be very sure of the usage and giving them the right time and the right entry point. Because who is your first, second, third spinner? It plays a massive role because everybody's strength is different. So it's not going to be straightforward, which is why we said that you would rather play four spinners if you're not going to use the second pacer. But India used the second pacer well. So that is where I think, depending on the usage, pick Sundar. If you're picking him, you have to really use him very wisely.
Okay, by the way, Koteshwar Rao, Marisetti saying Nikhil is looked like Dhruv Jurel brother. Well, he take that as a compliment. I've been
Yeah.
compared to Shoaib Bashir. Paji's been compared to lots of people that you guys know.
None of them good.
No, I mean, of course, bro. Of course. This is a spin panel, right? Harbhajan, Dan Vittori, and Shoaib Bashir. What better can you get on a
Yeah,
cricket.com afternoon show?
yeah. Personally, I'd like to be compared to Vishen Bedi over Harbhajan, but that's for another day.
Okay, fine. Super. Let's end proceedings by taking some of the cracking questions that these guys have asked us earlier. Now, there was one random one. What about Gaikwad? Where is he in the reckoning? I don't know if he's going to be test match credentialed right now.
Me
Maybe in
too.
the next WTC cycle, he'll definitely be there. What about the other one that Kanan was asking us? Was it Kanan? No, it was Dolph. Can we play Jurel and Pant together? Will there be ever a test that we actually see this, or will it just be one over the other?
Could happen due to injuries, but
Yeah.
see, in the first 11, you still see uh, Pant and KL playing ahead of Jurel.
Yeah.
That is something that you can forecast right now if everyone's fit. But yeah, with Jurel, showing decent enough temperament and solidity in technique, India can look at him if Pant is not fit and KL's there, that he can play as a keeper batter, because India did not have that confidence with KS Bharat, which is why you had KL Rahul keeping gloves in South Africa. So it's a good headache to have, but I don't think we can think that far ahead that you can play both, because there are other players in the reckoning who have done well too. So let's see.
Just to just to pick Paji's mind, would you play him as a extra batter at number 7 if ever you want to overseas
Yeah,
in
you
Australia?
can. You can. I mean,
Yeah,
but again, for your number 7 batter has mostly been Ravindra Jadeja. So maybe when Jadeja is not fit, and India should rather play him at 7 rather than playing that fifth bowler who they are not going to use.
yeah,
Because
But
that's mostly.
India have always had a 6-5 template, right? So it's very hard for
No,
them to break
yeah.
that.
It's
no,
well, you'll have
it
to break that. That's what.
it
Yeah,
started with Virat making that changes after the 2018 Sena tours, because India tried Hardik Pandya, who played in South Africa and England, but when it did not work out, India moved away from that template in Australia, because that Adelaide Test match, India had 7 batters. So I feel in the absence
Wasn't
of
it
Jadeja.
before that? Even in that 2015 Sri Lanka series where we won, wasn't it that series that he actually laid down the rule?
yeah.
No,
Rohit
but
Sharma
then
was
your
the
fifth
chase then.
bowler was Stuart Binney. And
Yeah,
again, if they felt enough confidence in him, they would have given him a lot more games. So they kept trying because there was Jayant Yadav who came in between. But I feel if Jadeja's injured, rather than India playing Ashwin at number 7, which is one spot too high for him, and they don't bowl him enough, they are better off playing another batter than playing the extra bowler.
Okay, super. By the way, like this video, guys, all you lovely listeners right now. And I'll tell you one more interesting stat, because if you look back at this calendar year, not this one, but like the last 12 to 14 months, Nick. So we've had essentially what, 4 test keepers. So we had Kishan keeping in the West Indies. Then we had, of course, Jurel and Bharat the series, and Bharat kept in the WTC as well. KL, like you mentioned, South Africa. That's quite a turbulent
Continent
time.
specialist. Continent specialist.
Continent specialist. Okay, next, take this one from Kushal Shah, because we've not really lent insight about why pace
Yeah.
wasn't used that much in the second innings at Ranchi. And I was thinking Ollie Robinson, I was thinking slightly another burst from Anderson. India didn't even use Akash in that second innings. Could you put a finger to why?
So this is something that we often discuss about, judging the process based on results. Now, both teams were very, very happy to see spin coming into picture, ball keeping low. But then you think, if would you not bowl Bumrah if he was part of the setup? You would, right? And that's what it is eventually about in terms of who do you think is the most likely to strike. uh, you saw Anderson starting the day, and we discussed this yesterday as well. If he doesn't strike at the start of the day, he'll not going to bowl at all, and that's what happened. But I genuinely felt that there was an opportunity, if not for India to try Agasti, because wickets kept falling for England, but for India, when India were batting, England I felt should have tried Robinson, should have tried Anderson, because they could hit the crack as well. It's not that they can't hit the crack, and I was honestly felt that even Stokes could have had a bowl if he wanted to, because if not now, then when are you going to use that bowling if at all you were getting ready for it? So, uh, see, it's about what you think in that moment of time. When it comes off, it looks masterstroke. But you saw, just to add one more point about the new ball, we discussed this yesterday. Just to add on it, it's not easy bowling with the new ball. So if you have somebody who is very good at opening the bowling, you need to use that guy more. Be it Ashwin with the ball for India or Anderson for England. Sometimes you need to back the experience of the player who's far more adept at adapting to the conditions than trying to give somebody the ball saying that you try and make the most of it because something is worked for the other side. So I think that is something both sides are very happy to stick to spin. And yeah, I do feel paces could have been used. If not for a long spell, at least for a short burst.
Coming to Robinson, I think England have really underestimated the control he can bring to the bowling attack right throughout the series. I mean, for me, he would have started even if England wanted to rest Anderson for the first test. I would have played him over Mark Wood, because many times you've seen, you could have one bowler bowling really well or two bowlers bowling really well, but if your third or fourth bowler is lacking control, the batters know. And unlike, cricket is such a sport, regardless of which format you pick, that the role of your bowler of the bowler that you have is still limited, but the role of the batter is not limited. In T20s your best bowler can only bowl 4. In ODIs your best bowler can only bowl 10. In test matches, at best, if you have a good pacer, the most elongated spell that he can bowl is 9 or 10 overs, and that is really stretching it. Most pacers do not go beyond the 7 or the 8 over mark, unless you are a Neil Wagner or someone else who can bowl 11, 12. So the role of a bowler is, or the game is constructed in such a way that the role of your best bowler is limited, but the role of your best batters aren't limited. And that is why you also see all teams carry an out of form batter longer than an out of form bowler, because the other batters can sort of make up for the lack of runs of one batter. But in the bowling department, to do that becomes a lot more difficult. So I just hope teams think in terms of team construction that way, rather than just thinking we have to play three spinners because it is India.
Yeah, and also, firstly, it's about reading conditions. I don't think England read the conditions or India read the conditions as and it behaved as they expected it to. Because now, if you just think of it in this way, if you had Atkinson at this point of time ahead of Robinson or Wood, you would have definitely loved for them to bowl, because extra pace on the wicket, what Akashdeep got in the first innings, one of them could have got. So it's also about reading the conditions right, and it is at times a lottery in terms of getting it spot on.
Okay, speaking of spin, you lent it on Ashwin earlier, Paji, and many people asking this: Washington via Ashwin. How many young off spinners are playing first class cricket for India? Any offie in the offing? Because, like you touched upon, 100 tests for that man. It's going to be a special landmark indeed. And he's played so many tests for India since 2011. You just normally think at home, and Ashwin's definitely the number one name on the team sheet. Who are Who are the other names in terms of off spinners that we have right now? There's Sundar. There was, of course, Jalat Saxena back in the day. Right now, even if you look at the domestic circuit, Saurabh Kumar, Christopher Gautam, then there's, of course, I mean, you look at generally the other spinners who could take that role, not off spinners, but people like Aditya Sarvate, Shabaz Ahmed, those kind of names.
So, see, we shouldn't really restrict the search like that. That okay, to replace Ashwin or to have someone as succeeding Ashwin, he should be a right arm off spinner itself. We don't have a left arm pacer in the attack, right? We've not had one even when we have had a complete, very good bowling attack. So you have to look at those who can do the job well. There's Sai Kishore who's been doing well. There was Shams Mulani. I think it was the last Ranji season where he was the highest wicket taker. So it is not necessary to only look at a right arm off spinner. If you have a left arm orthodox spinner, or if you have a left arm wrist spinner who can do the job, who can give you that assurance that this player can pick up wickets, anywhere he goes, then stick with them, play them. England for the longest time uh, only had, like, when they've been playing in England, they've only had Leach as a frontline spinner. There is no right arm off spinner, and that's been the case with a lot of teams. So if you don't find one, then it's okay. India, when they had Anil Kumble, they eventually settled with Jadeja and Ashwin. Now, had they been stuck that we only want to find a wrist spinner as Anil Kumble's replacement, they wouldn't have moved forward. So if you feel there isn't someone who is as good as an off spinner, look at other spin bowling options. Eventually, you just need wickets. It doesn't matter whether it comes from the left hand or the right hand. It's just
No,
the wickets that come.
absolutely. And India were just spoiled for choice because they had all three spinners on display in this Ranchi test. Wrist spin, of course, slow left arm, and then the off spin in Ashwin. A lot more comments to take just before we wrap up. Dino Rhodes scored his first 50 in the second innings of a test match today. Apparently, in all of first class, which was put out earlier in our WhatsApp chat as well. And many people contributing their thoughts about that pace chat that you guys are having just moments ago. If Mark Wood was playing, he would have definitely get a go. Absolutely. Nikhil Baiju going on an ad. Anderson was not completely fit, I think. Ollie Robinson is down in pace and not bowling that well. And Greg also saying Anderson is a great line and length bowler, but he's not changed a match outside for England for a long time now. And Mohammad also going on to say, I honestly didn't understand why Robinson was picked with the series on the line. They should have stuck with Wood. Both Ollie Robinson, Bairstow, probably Stokes' favorite mates. Both are unfit. And finally, Mohammad also saying, but Paji, Anderson, and Robinson are similar control wise. The pitch needed different pace wise, like a Wood, or maybe an Atkinson, like Nick's was talking about. And congratulations to Chant and all the other Liverpool fans who tune into cricket.com. Much love to you guys, even though I hate y'all from a United perspective. But look, final words, guys, because it's been a memorable day. 3-1, and there's more to talk about it in the Monday Night Live with Nikhil and Akshay later on today. But when we look back at this test and how this team has bounced back since Hyderabad, Nick, it's pretty commendable.
100%, 100%. I think it's going to be very, very pleasing. Again, I'll use the same word, satisfying. Uh, Twice now in two very important series, one against Australia and one against England. It's the youngsters who have really come through and delivered that punch that you feel that now we are here, and then the seniors have also supported, which is great. But it's the youngsters stepping up. That's a very, very good sign for the side in the long term. It may be accidental. None of this was planned because you didn't see injuries and all of that coming. So for that to happen, I think it's very, very pleasing. Very happy for Dhruv and Kuldeep, to be very, very honest. For a guy to win man of the match in the second test as a batter, as a keeper batter in India, you really know you have done a lot of things right to get into that position, because it doesn't come very often. So very happy for Dhruv. And yeah, baseball worked for England. It kept them in the game, but eventually maybe traditional cricket won.
It did indeed. And Casing going on to make a very important point saying don't take home wins for
Yes.
granted. Hope the series teaches people that. Absolutely spot on, Casing. And good luck with your hangover as well, with regards to all the booze you might be consuming after the Liverpool win. Paji, and Max, we spoke about Patidar, so just rewind. Apologies, we're not going to talk about Patidar again, at least momentarily. We've spoken about him already. But just that point by Casing, which is do not take home wins for granted. Everyone was even writing Team India off after they went 1-0 down Hyderabad. Be like, bro, England's going to win 3-1. I spoke to a couple of people in office, outside office, fans in the road. And it's funny how cricket can shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed this before. We have taken examples of other teams as well who've drawn or lost series, at home. Very recently, you saw Australia draw a series versus West Indies. Before that, you saw South Africa drawing a series versus India. So it's something that India's streak of being unbeaten at home really needs to be celebrated. You can give it a caveat that okay, many of those wins have come on Bunsen burners or etc. But we saw what the pitch was in Cape Town. We saw what the pitches have been elsewhere as well. And there was there was this last Ashes that happened in Australia where I think it was during the COVID time when both Hazelwood and Cummings were missing, and you could really see that Australia had to dig deep to win that test match in Adelaide. I think it was the day night test match in Adelaide. And India have had to dig deep, but it just shows that, regardless of how much you have to dig deep, you it is still difficult to beat the home side, which is why not only downplaying home wins, that caveat which is many times attached to India's series win in Australia in 1819 should also not be there. You only had two batters missing, but you still had your full strength bowling attack. And I believe that, in test matches you really need your bowlers to step up, because without taking 20 wickets you will not win test matches. So no caveat should be there to any sort of achievement as such, especially when the intention is just to downplay it. If you are
Yeah.
critically analyzing it in terms of just performances, sure, you can add that okay, Pujara had a lot of runs in that 2018-2019 series, but you feel, or it could be someone's opinion that he batted better in the 2021 series because the pitches were tougher. So that still makes sense. You're not downplaying it, but you are analyzing those two tools, both of them equally important. But when you're like, oh, they won without Smith, and now England had such a good chance. Even forget that, even Ashwin has not been at his best. So all of your major pillars of the test team were not there, and still for India to come out and lead the series 3-1, which could have easily been 4-0, because 28 runs is a very small margin, just tells you how good India have been at home. And across the world, in whatever sport, if you are going to compare challenges across sports, beating India in test series at home is one of those challenges. I mean, it could rank top among the top 5 challenges in sports across the globe. Like, similar of it could be beating Rafael Nadal at Roland Garros. Nadal could be injured, he could have a lot of other issues, but he will still manage to find a way to beat people there. Similarly, is the case with India and Test series at home.
Yeah, I like that comparison sport wise. And for all you football lovers, I'd probably give you that Mourinho example where he was manager for that longest time and he didn't lose a single home game in 9 years or something like that, which is absolutely ridiculous. By the way, just want to share my screen and showcase what kind of articles you guys can read quickly. There was pressure from outside, not inside, saying Rohit Sharma. There's some lovely quotes that you can check out on cricket.com. Generally, as well, if you take a look at the website right now, there's some good stuff that you can get into. Catherine Bryce, who of course is from Scotland, she played her first WPL game last night. Didn't go her way, but Gaurav Nandan Tripathi writes about her. You can go check that out. And of course, all the other videos which is available to us right now, including this one, which is the WPL and all the fans who had their chance to speak to me around the Chinnaswamy and their thoughts about women's cricket in general. It was fantastic to see. And not to forget Unwind, because Gurkirat mentioned over there, taking 20 wickets is not a joke. But I spoke to a man earlier last week about taking 20 wickets, and I'm talking about Bharat Arun, and that comes out later this week on cricket.com's Unwind. So lots to get into. Like I said, in the next couple of hours as well, sharp at 8 p.m. We'll be doing the Monday Night Live. That's going to be a stellar show. And if you're lucky, there could be a special guest on there. We're not doing the watch along today because of Monday Night Live. So get your questions cracking at 8 p.m. Have dinner. And of course, tune in because Nick's, me, and Akshay will be talking about a whole host of things: the PSL, shocking Hawkeye, and you name it. We'll, of course, talk about it. Thank you so much for your time, all you lovely people. Darshan Vyas. We'll take this comment, I swear, in the Monday Night Live. Apologies because I know you've just joined our show. And for all you Liverpool fans out there, like this video. For all you Indian fans that like this video doubly and share and spread the word about cricket.com. Until the next time, it's a goodbye from Good Kirat,
So
Nikhil.
double like will turn it into an unlike.
We could.
Double
Oh,
like
yeah.
will remove the like.
Sorry, do not do
Just
that.
make it
Just
one.
like
Keep
it.
it
Just
keep it
like
simple.
it.
Like it. Cheers.
Just like it. What we're targeting, basically what Dhruv Jurel scored in his first innings at Ranchi. 90 likes will be over the moon. If you can do that, let a friend know about cricket.com. Cheers. See you guys
Cheers.
later. Good afternoon.